No one paid attention to the little girl standing alone near the busy intersection in downtown Atlanta. Cars rushed past, horns blared, people walked by with their heads buried in their phones. The girl couldn't have been more than 5 years old. She looked lost, and she looked scared. Ethan Walker noticed her only because he was already late. Late for a board meeting, late for everything, really. As the CEO of one of Atlanta's fastest-growing tech companies, Ethan's life ran on tight schedules, polished suits, and endless pressure. He had learned long ago not to get involved in things that slowed him down. But that morning, something felt off. The traffic light changed, the little girl took a step forward, and then it happened. A car sped through the red light. Ethan didn't think. He dropped his phone, ran forward, and grabbed the child just in time, pulling her back onto the sidewalk as the car missed them by inches. The crowd gasped. The girl burst into tears. Ethan crouched down, heart pounding, and held her gently by the shoulders. Hey, you're okay," he said softly. She looked up at him with wide brown eyes and trembling lips. My mommy," she whispered. Ethan scanned the crowd. "Who's your mom?" Before the girl could answer, a woman came running toward them, panic written all over her face. She was black, late 20s, wearing simple clothes, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked breathless and terrified. "Emma!" the woman cried, dropping to her knees and pulling the child into her arms. Oh my God, I just turned my head for 1 second." Tears streamed down her face as she hugged the girl tightly. Ethan stood there awkwardly, suddenly feeling like he didn't belong. I'm sorry," the woman said, looking up at him. Thank you so much, you saved her." Ethan shook his head. "She stepped into the street. Anyone would have done the same." But that wasn't true. Plenty of people had walked by. The little girl looked back at Ethan and smiled shyly. "Thank you, mister," she said. Something about her smile made Ethan pause. There was a strange familiarity he couldn't explain. Her mother stood up and extended her hand. "I'm Maya Johnson." "Ethan," he replied, shaking her hand briefly. "Ethan Walker." A car horn honked behind him. He checked his watch. "I should go," he said quickly. "You should maybe keep a closer eye on her." Maya nodded, embarrassed. "I will, I promise." Ethan walked away, telling himself it was over. Just another close call, another thing to forget. But for the rest of the day, he couldn't get the little girl out of his mind. That night, as Ethan sat alone in his penthouse apartment, he poured himself a glass of water and stared out at the city lights. He had everything: money, power, respect, yet the silence felt heavier than usual. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. "DNA results from the charity clinic just came in. You asked to be notified." Ethan froze. 6 years ago, after a charity gala in Savannah, there had been a night he barely remembered. Too much alcohol, a hotel room, and a woman whose name he never learned. Months later, a lawyer had contacted him, hinting at a child, but the case disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. Ethan had told himself it was nothing, a scam. But recently, something had changed. He had started wondering, and now the timing felt strange. "Open it," he whispered. The results appeared on his screen. His heart pounded. 99.9% probability of paternity. Ethan's breath caught. The name listed under child made his hands shake. Emma Johnson, the same little girl, the one he had just saved. The room felt like it was spinning. "No," he muttered. "It couldn't be." He grabbed his keys and rushed out. An hour later, Ethan stood outside a modest apartment building on the south side of the city. He hesitated before knocking. What if he was wrong? What if he destroyed their lives? The door opened. Maya stood there, surprised. "Mr. Walker?" "Ethan," he said quietly. "We need to talk." They sat at a small kitchen table while Emma played with crayons nearby. Maya listened in silence as Ethan explained everything. The past, the test, the truth. Her face went pale. When he finished, she laughed softly, not from humor, but from exhaustion. "I always wondered," she said. "She has your eyes." Ethan looked at Emma. She looked up and smiled again. "Are you my daddy?" she asked innocently. The word hit him harder than any boardroom deal ever had. Ethan swallowed. I don't know if I deserve that," he said. Maya crossed her arms. "You didn't know. I never tried to find you. I didn't want money. I just wanted to raise her in peace." "I want to be involved," Ethan said firmly, "if you'll let me." Maya studied him for a long moment. "Being a father isn't about money. It's about showing up." Ethan nodded. "Then I'll show up." And he did. He started small, picking Emma up from school, reading her bedtime stories, listening, learning. For the first time in Ethan's life, he felt fear, the fear of doing something wrong, of not being enough. Weeks turned into months, the bond grew stronger. So did something else. Late-night conversations with Maya turned into laughter, shared worries turned into understanding. One evening, as they watched Emma sleep, Ethan finally spoke. "I never planned this, but I don't want to lose it." Maya looked at him. "Neither do I." Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring. Not extravagant, not flashy, just honest. "Maya Johnson," he said, voice steady but eyes full of emotion. "I didn't just find my daughter. I found my family. Will you marry me?" Maya covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Emma stirred and smiled in her sleep. Sometimes life doesn't give second chances, but when it does, they come when you least expect them.